Okay, we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. Tonight is going to be part 2 of the Painting the Roses Red one-shot. Supposed to be a one-shot. Set in the world of Dowrenland, which is kind of a setting of Oz and Wonderland and fairy tales, all kind of blended together with a dark coat of paint over the top. Before we get to the recap and things of that nature, I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is an adult game, even though it is kind of based around fairy tales. These are all adults, and some of the topics and language might venture into the mature. And if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, I am very sorry. It must be a dull life that you lead, but you should go. So, barring that, I'm going to pass it over to my 5 players so that they can do their introductions before we get this kicked off. So, first off, we have Carol.
You'd think I'd be ready by now. I think you're calling me first every time.
You're almost always the first one in the chat, so.
Oh, I see. Yes, I'm Carol. I run the YouTube channel Dunsters and Dragons, in which I put a few sort of silly family videos for fun, but that's all right. And I'm playing Daisy tonight. She is a forest gnome, and she rides a blink dog. So somehow we have this interesting dynamic going on with her. Crazy little animal person.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Corey.
Hey guys, it's Corey back here again for this lovely game and rather fun setting. I'll be playing Pyra today. She is a Horizon Walker and Ranger type, and yeah, she's fun to play. We'll see what happens. We're in quite the pickle.
Yes, it should be a very interesting situation to watch resolve. Next up, we have Paul.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul. I'm playing Corbo Black. He is part of the Seekers Guild, which is they make pacts with their clients to locate items or people. And but then mechanically, he's a warlock and a rogue. And yeah, I'm just can't wait to see what happens tonight.
Glad to have you back, Paul. Next up, we have Karen.
Hello, I am Karen. I have a new YouTube channel. It's called Myth and Gears. Yay. I have a video on it. Excitement. I am playing Oiseau tonight. And I apologize if I sound really bad. I have a very bad cold, so I'm trying to get through this. I am excited to play. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I just know I am currently hiding in a bush somewhere, frightened to death.
Glad to have you back as well, Karen. I hope you get to feeling better sooner rather than later, because being sick sucks. Last but certainly not least, we have Taylor.
Hey everybody, I'm Taylor. I'm playing Naya. She's a barbarian who is deaf but knows sign language and occasionally uses message to get her point across.
Fantastic. Everybody that has mentioned a channel, you should be able to find the link to that channel in the description of this video. You should certainly go check them out. Give them likes, give them subscribes, give them comments, all that good stuff. Everybody here has awesome stuff on their channels. Okay, so before we get started, just a brief recap. So you guys had snuck into the royal gardens that surround the Crimson Castle, the palace of the Red Queen here in the Kingdom of Hearts. You had heard that the outsiders, Alice and Dorothy, were still alive somewhere in the dungeons of this castle. So you infiltrated, found a secret passage into the castle, actually found your way into the bedchambers of the Red Queen, as well as found the miniaturized versions of Alice and Dorothy, the two outsiders, Alice and Dorothy, and absconded with them in bird cages, no less. Interestingly enough, you gave them to the character Oiseau, who managed to make it out through a collapsing tunnel just in time and is now kind of sequestered away in the royal gardens once again, now that the alarm has been raised and the castle is on lockdown. In the last moment, Carol, your character is Daisy. Daisy also used the capability that she has with her blink dog to blink her way out of the castle. The other three of you were, however, surrounded and arrested by the Crimson Phalanx. So, I think that brings us back to where we're at currently. Does anybody have any kind of questions or anything to add before we roll forward? No.
So this is the exact instance in which we left before no time has passed, correct?
More or less. A few minutes may have passed.
Yeah, a few minutes. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, the Crimson Phalanx has captured almost all of you. The two of you who have managed to escape are somewhat lost, wandering around the royal gardens, where you know some of the plants are not exactly safe. So you're having to pick a careful path if you're moving at all, because the Crimson Phalanx is also out and about in the royal gardens, looking for, your guess is you, and the two prisoners that you managed to escape with, at least Oiseau. Unfortunately, Oiseau and Daisy have not been able to find one another and are kind of wandering around separately at the moment. So before we head into the Crimson Castle to find out what has befallen our three heroes, the two of you who are in the royal gardens, what are you currently doing?
Would Daisy be able to see any small animals around, perhaps birds or bunny rabbit or something?
Certainly.
So she's going to, if she can find like a little bunny rabbit to talk to, she's going to use her forest gnome ability, and she's going to kind of wave her hands like ears and squeak at it, and see if such an animal would have any idea where Oiseau is with her bird cage and what bush she's hiding under.
She doesn't seem to know exactly what you're talking about, but there is somebody with cages that's apparently not all that far from where you're at, and they are currently hiding.
So then I would, continue to speak with this little bunny, ask her if she could point me in the right direction, and then see if we could sneak over there.
Absolutely. The little rabbit will definitely give you the direction that you should head in, and she even tells you something specific about the bushes that she's hiding in. They're the ones where the thorns don't grow as thick. So go ahead and roll me I'll call it a survival roll, and you can have advantage.
All right. I don't think a D10 is going to work very well. Let's see. That will be a total of 19.
So, Oiseau, what are you doing currently? what is it that you're up to whenever Daisy finds you?
So the last thing that Wuzzo was trying to do was, in vain, nonetheless, was trying to open up these cages to get these wee little lasses out, because that would be so much easier to carry them around and less conspicuous than these cages. So when that didn't work, she would just hunker down and stay right where she's at, because the best place to hide is right under their noses where they're not really going to look.
And as you are kind of crouched underneath this bush, trying to stay hidden, and you hear the patrols of Crimson Phalanx kind of pass back and forth with their kind of rhythmic marching, all of a sudden you hear and see the bush near you moving, and suddenly out pops Daisy and her riding dog.
So in the split second before Wuzzo sees them, she would have had her dagger out and ready to fight whatever this thing was that was coming after her. So I can imagine that she kind of would kind of leap towards, like thrust her dagger towards you, and then see at the last second that it is you, Daisy. And at that point, she would kind of cover your mouth and pull you in.
Daisy, of course, is startled for a moment by the knife and then just thrilled to have found Wuzzo. And, she... Oh, I'm so glad to have found you. I found a bunny rabbit. She helped me. And she pats you on the back and she's like, how are you doing? I see you haven't gotten them out of the cage. She's just whispering because she doesn't know who's around and what's going on.
Wuzzo she would shake her head, sadly, because she can't get them out. And then she would kind of make a very soft whistle and move her hands. And then all of a sudden in front, it would materialize kind of a little vision, like a little picture that you'd see, where she shows the two bird cages, and she's like, and she's looking at you at the same time, kind of questioningly, and she has them grow a little bit big enough that the little women inside could sneak out of the bars. And she looks at you like, with the question in her eyes.
Daisy thinks for a minute to see, is there anything that she can do? Just like, she's just... She can't right off come up with anything that's really going to do the job. We didn't have anything that was going to cause size changes, did we?
No.
I don't think so.
You found some bottles, some vials inside the same room where you found the bird cages themselves that had a residue inside of them that you are fairly certain was used to shrink them down to this size.
Who ended up with those?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody did actually even take them. They might have.
I thought someone did.
I thought Corbo did.
Yeah.
He might have.
These cages, how solid do they look?
They're not made of anything very substantial. I mean, they're bird cages, so the wire on them is fairly thin and a little more decorative than necessarily structural. But the trick with breaking them is probably going to be trying to do so without hurting their captors.
Right.
So Wazo will kind of digs around in her pack, and she kind of pulls out this her entertainer's outfit, and what she tries to do is tries to stuff it in one of the cages, kind of basically to kind of swaddle the lady inside so that she's got all this padding around her. And then she's going to take out her crowbar and try to pry the bars open a little bit.
She starts to do that. Then Daisy will say, "Here, give me just a moment. Perhaps I can help you with that a little bit." And she pulls out a little bit of fur and rubs it between her fingers and chants a few words in some strange gnomish language. And she touches you and gives you it's fur from the bowl, and it gives you both strength, enhance ability, and you have advantage on strength checks, and your carrying capacity doubles if that makes any difference. Concentration up for an hour. So on a strength check to break that, you would have advantage.
And I will need it.
Yeah, well, I'm not very strong either, so I thought somebody better get it.
So with the aid of the crowbar, as well as the aid of Daisy's magic, I'm not even going to have you bother rolling. These things aren't that substantial. So you prop it up against a decorative rock or something hard so that it won't move around, and place the crowbar kind of down in between two of these bars, and then just wrench. And the weld or what have you between where these bars kind of cross just pops, and two of these bars just bend in enough that that you can get a fist in and out of it now. So you're no question that the captive inside could escape.
Perfect. And then Wazo would repeat the process with the second birdcage.
And as we see the two of these young women, diminutive in size though they are, escape from their cages, we cut back inside the castle to see what is going on with these other three heroes who have been rounded up by the Crimson Phalanx, gathered together in the courtyard just outside the palace. The three of you are surrounded on all sides by members of the Crimson Phalanx. Their tall tower shields held at the ready, as well as their swords. The Red Queen has not quite yet joined you. Is there anything in this moment that you're wanting to say or do before she arrives?
I am going. How many are there? Or can we rough count?
There's probably 36 at least already.
And does one of them look like he's in charge?
Yeah, there would be something equivalent of a captain.
And any chance I would know his name, or a chance to know his name?
It's unlikely, simply because as of right now, you can see nothing of his face even.
Would I know who the captain of the guard or type thing would be?
They have several. So So it's difficult to tell which one it might be. But I mean,
I wanted to try something, so I wanted, if I chance to know who maybe their names, and I would say, is that so and so or so and so? I need to know if I knew their names first, or
okay.
chance.
So roll a history check, and you'll have disadvantage on it.
That's fine. Plus 5. That 14 would have been nice, but I rolled a 2, so 7. Oh boy.
So no, I would say you know that there are 3 captains of the guard who serve kind of in rotation within the Crimson Phalanx, and you only know that one of them is named Cavan.
Okay. Because of my background and who I actually work for, would I know if there is an equivalent group of mine that works for the Red Queen? Basically, I'm gonna try to bluff that I'm part of that group.
Based on the same role, I would say probably not. You don't have that much information about the inner workings of their outfit, if there is such a thing.
All right, I'm just gonna try to bluff 100%. How dare you stop me? Do you not know who I am? I was trying to get. I infiltrated them, trying to get into their organization, find out where they get all their find out who they are and who they work for directly. And I almost had them until you shut the passage. I demand you release us now so we can try to find them and find out where they went with the prisoners.
This captain kind of steps forward a half step. My men are looking for them now. They won't escape.
You don't know them as well as I do. I've been with them long enough to know that they can get by your army. They got in here without you knowing. What makes you think that they do not have an escape plan?
Well, if you know their escape plan and you know them so well, then perhaps you should give us help. Tell us where they've hidden.
No, I need to find them. They have it. I do not know their escape plan. But I can figure this out if I get out there. That's why you need to release me at once.
Okay. Roll your deception.
Okay, let's see. This is plus 7. 17.
He kind of looks at you for a long moment. Very well. Let him go. And he kind of points his blade at you. Just him. The Crimson Phalanx kind of step to the side near you, Corbeau, seemingly intent to follow the orders that they've just been given.
All right, then I will don't like leaving the party, but I'll this was bigger than us, so I start leaving, making way through the opening that they provide.
And he says, "One moment. The 4 of you, follow him. If he lies, spill his blood upon the ground and bring me his head for the queen." 4 men detach themselves from the rest of the unit and turn to follow you in formation.
All right, and then I'll leave with them following me, I guess, for now.
And for Pyria and Naya, what are you two doing in the meantime?
I think that Pyra would have resheathed their weapon and stood with her hands to her sides and knows that no matter how well of a combatant that she is, she can't take on 36 people. Well, no, 32. She would look over to Naya and just nod knowingly and look at the captain and go, well, at least we were mostly successful.
Naya follows along behind Pyria. And there's a steady voice in your head, Pyra. I am thinking of something. Do follow along.
She just knowingly nods again, probably just, to not at her, but in agreement so that the guards just think that maybe she's moving her head. Can I speak back to you? Is this message or is it
You can.
just,
It is message.
Okay. She would say back to you, this better be good, my friend. It's we're in quite a pickle here. And he just left us.
It will be a distraction. Hopefully enough.
You, the two of you, are left standing amongst this throng. And you see the back ranks beginning to part. As you can tell, a figure approaches in a sweeping kind of gown. The Red Queen comes forward. Now, outside the throng of the Crimson Phalanx, the villagers and people who live and work here around the castle and the palace have certainly started to gather as well. The Red Queen walks through them, her chin held high, looking down her nose, as she parts the inner circle of the Crimson Phalanx, one hand kind of holding the other in front of her, as she kind of gazes at you with this bemused kind of expression. Well, well, well. What have we here? I count but only 2 traitors. And she kind of turns a little towards the captain, who bows his head deeply and says, Forgive me, your majesty. One of them said he was an agent of yours. We turned him loose. He said he would find the other 2. I sent 4 men with him. She kind of shakes her head a little, clucks her tongue impatiently. Well, 2 is better than none, I suppose. What to do with you? You are not good for my collection, I don't think. No, you wouldn't do it all. So what to do? I have an idea. She gets a kind of wicked smile that turns the corner of her mouth. And then we cut to Corbeau. Corbeau, you're wandering through the royal gardens with these 4 members of the Crimson Phalanx behind you. Where is it your intention to go?
Trying to see if, aside from these 4, I want to go somewhere where there's less of the guard, if it's possible, or are they everywhere?
The patrols kind of pass here and there with fair regularity, but there's certainly a place where you could time that there wouldn't be any others in sight, at least for a moment.
Okay. I'm actually going to just keep walking sort of where we came from, but not more to see if I can find either Wazo or I forgot Carol's character's name. Yeah. So I look, if I can see them, I just want to know if I can find them, but I don't let anyone know. Daisy. Okay, yeah. So I look for Daisy and Wazo.
Okay, roll me a perception check.
All right, plus 13, don't fail me. 18 plus 13.
So, yeah, whatever supernatural freak thing you got going on with your eyeballs certainly is able to see them, though they have managed to stay perfectly well hidden from the rest of the prying eyes that are looking. So, what do you see when you see them kind of hunkered down?
So, the Raven is looking around. I'm looking forward and off, but the Raven looks over, sees them, but keeps looking, and lets me know that that they're there. I move up a little further, and I'm trying to find. I make sure that I am within sight of Wazo, and I let her know with Thieves' Cant that if they have a plan.
So you are walking near this bush and speaking in Thieves' Cant loud enough so you're hoping that she can hear you?
Yes, I'm close enough, not so that try making sure that they don't get close enough to be able to see them.
Sure.
But try to make some comments that's like, all right, I think they came this way, but I'm not entirely certain. But and then I use that so that she hears my voice, and then I send her the message within what I'm saying.
Okay. So Daisy and Wazo, you're just kind of finishing up getting these 2 young ladies out of their cages, Alice and Dorothy. And you overhear the voice of Corbeau talking to someone. And it sounds like they're looking for you. But there is a underlying message that you pick up, Wazo, with the particular phrasing that Corbeau is using. It is the secret language of rapscallions and scoundrels. And he asks if there is a plan.
So Wazo kind of like she turns to Daisy and she's got her finger up on her mouth, like, be quiet. And she's listening, and she hears Corbeau. And she hears the thing, have a plan. And she's like, she shakes her head to herself, like, no. And then she turns to Daisy and she tries to indicate with her hands, kind of like making a bird symbol with her hands, and points outside to Daisy.
Daisy ponders for a second and whispers to her, I could fly them out as a bird, but how would is that what you're thinking?
She shakes her head.
Here.
And she tries to indicate like a person walking with and then a bird. And she starts to get frustrated and she's like, oh. And then she turns to the two little women. What are they doing at this point? Like, are they still on the ground in front of them?
Yes, if you just set them free on the grass, they are busy talking with one another. Alice looks as though she probably has studied magic in some form. Obviously, she doesn't have a spell book full of tentacles with her currently, but this is just an idea of kind of what she looks like. She's got kind of wavy blonde hair, and she definitely has kind of the air of having come from a family of means. And she is talking to the dark-haired Dorothy, who seems like she might be a little less arcane inclined, but more perhaps in your line of work, Wazo. She has a hood. She looks like she's pretty aware of her surroundings. And the two of them are talking in voices that are so small that you're having a hard time understanding anything that's being said.
So Wazo would kind of crouch down as much as she could and kind of place her hands on the ground out beside them in case they wanted to like get on her hands.
Yeah, they kind of exchange like a cautious look between each other and then look back up at you. And then...
So
actually, what I'm going to do is send the Raven off while I walk away and have the guards, make sure the guards are following me, then have the Raven land, carefully land in there where Wazo and everyone is, and because I can telepathically communicate with it. So.
Okay. So they exchange this look with each other, and then they look up at you, Wazo. And then Dorothy is the first to step out onto your hand. And then cautiously, Alice does as well. Just about the time that Alice has convinced herself and has climbed up into your palm, you see a raven land nearby on a branch that sticks out from this bush. You recognize the raven as Juniper, but both of the minuscule women recoil and look like they're about to freak out.
At this point, Daisy very quickly kind of steps in and whispers to them, No, the raven is our friend's familiar. You could go with the raven. It could probably take you safely back to the White Queen.
They look at each other again and discuss, and you can just make out they work for the White Queen. And surely they can be trusted.
She sent us to rescue you.
Yeah, and if they stay on my hands, Wazo's going to carefully lift them up so that they're more at eye level with her, so that she can have an easier time of hearing what they say.
And once you get them closer, it's definitely easier to understand them. But you still have to strain a little because their voices are just so tiny. They say, maybe we should trust you. You took us this far. the raven is domesticated? He won't try to eat us?
Yes, the raven is a familiar to one of our party members.
And he is willing to send his familiar that far south?
I believe so. He sent it here.
The raven actually shakes its head.
Okay,
No.
yeah, because I was thinking you could communicate with
Yeah.
it. Oh, I guess not.
Because Wazo would know that a lot of my abilities are tied closely to the raven from the time that we knew. So not about to, unless it's necessary, I'm not about to send Juniper away.
No, I guess that's too far. He might be able to get you to a safe place, however. What do you say, Juniper?
Juniper would nod to that. Assuming, from what I looked, I think they can carry 15 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would be more than sufficient.
Yeah, it's just depending what they are, but he is tiny, technically, so I don't know if that's might not be big enough to carry them properly.
I don't know if 5th edition still does it this way, but they effectively would be diminutive. They're about the size of mice. And I would imagine that a raven could carry 2 mice at once.
Oh, sure. Okay. I guess that will work.
So while they're having this conversation, Wazo is actually going to lift one of them up, probably Dorothy, up to her shoulder, so that Dorothy could maybe sit up there, so that she has one hand free, and then she would cast minor illusion while looking at Alice, and so in the other palm of her hand now she's got this illusion of Dorothy, who's small, the same Dorothy that's sitting on her shoulder now, growing bigger, and she looks at Alice like questioningly.
The blonde woman looks excited and shakes her head vehemently up and down. You have Ithaca biscuits? No, you don't. Oh.
Juniper jumps down, or I guess close enough to where the two girls are, and like sort of cocks his ear towards them when they said the biscuits, because I'm not going to explain. I can't say what, but that's when they say that he gets closer and cocks his ear towards them.
Knowing that Corvell can hear what the Juniper hears, Daisy says, "Corvell, do you think that Juniper could find these dip biscuits for us and bring them to the girls?"
I don't know if it's possible for a raven to shrug, but but he looks. But okay, Juniper looks at you and twists his head like clockwise when you say that, like almost like an understanding what you're saying. Juniper hops away but looks back at you.
Is that something you want to try?
Wazo would be nodding. Yes.
Okay, Juniper flies off towards the castle and tries to find the kitchen, or I'm guessing I was going to start off with the kitchen, I guess, if you can get in there.
I would think you might have the girls describe the biscuits quickly before he goes.
Yeah, okay. So so find off, goes over to girls and like looks inquisitively at them.
Okay. They describe what these biscuits look like, and Juniper takes off, heading towards the castle to try to find these. And as the camera kind of pans up and follows the bird in flight we peel away and travel the other direction to see where Naya and Pyria have been led by the Crimson Phalanx, with the Queen of Hearts kind of at the forefront, to a market square, an area that looks like it's reserved for public shows of entertainment. I'm judging by one of the implements you can see executions. There's a guillotine that sits on one side of the platform. And she mounts these stairs up to this platform and snaps her fingers. And very quickly, people carry this incredibly large and opulent-looking chair up the stairs and set it down so that she can take a seat, which she does with a big flourish of her skirts. She lowers herself into the chair.
Are there hedges around?
Not here in the marketplace. There are stalls.
Mm-hmm.
So the people have kind of gathered around, and the Crimson Phalanx have kind of lined the edge of this platform. The two of you kind of stand at the corner in plain view of all of these people, these denizens of the Kingdom of Hearts. And the Queen addresses her people. She says, "Normally, I would have these two beheaded. But it is a time of celebration. A time of change. The Festival of Tarts. My favorite of all festivals. So, I will forego my own desires for a game for the people, for you, my kingdom. A combat. I have a new toy I'd like to try out. So, these defilers will face my new toy for your enjoyment. I have heard the rumors, the whispers that I am cruel, that I am not kind, quick to cast judgment. These are vicious rumors, untruths, slander. This is my gift to you, to prove my benevolence to you, my people. So, a trial by combat. To the death, I think. But before this toy, this combatant is revealed, we go back to where the raven, Juniper, has managed to gather a few of these Ithaca biscuits, these almost pastries that have bits of dried fruit in them that you know will restore someone who is small to their proper size, or enlarge a normal person by a considerable amount. Juniper's able to bring these back to where you're waiting.
How many?
2.
2. Okay.
Did you instruct him to come back to you, Corbeau, or back to where Wazo and Daisy are?
Back to them, but now that I know that he found them and he's on his way back, now that I'm well enough away from them, I would like to get the 4 of them to avert their eyes from me while I disappear into the shadows or something. If I can trick them into looking somewhere else. Like I'm looking. What's that over there? So I'm assuming that they were behind me, following me, keeping an eye on me. So I'm looking around and I'll say, "What's that? Is that them?" And I point off behind them.
Okay. Roll me a deception. That's going to be at disadvantage again.
Okay. 13.
Okay, I rolled a 5. So apparently these guys are just not with it today. And they fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Not only do they look that direction, but one of them actually sends 2 of them off in that direction to investigate.
And then I use that opportunity to disappear. Stealthfully.
Okay, make a stealth roll.
Oh my goodness. I have a +10. That makes it 11, unless you use critical failures.
Okay. Yeah, so...
Oh, is Pass Without a Trace still on? Because that would be an extra...
When was it cast? It was before... It was when you first came in, wasn't it?
I think it was Carol casted.
Yeah, it was fairly early in this. Let me see. How long does it last? It lasts for up to an hour. I don't think there's a reason for me to have lost concentration.
Oh, but it's definitely been longer than an hour.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure you guys cast it whenever you had first kind of come into the gardens.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. So, I think we can see where this is going with the 2 captors and the 3 now who are loose in the royal gardens. So, in the essence of time, since we're trying to keep this somewhat short, the 3 of you are able to reunite. You're able to give the Ithaca biscuits to Dorothy and Alice if you wish. What is the plan from that point on?
Well, the question is, do they... I can try to get more biscuits, but it's up to them if they want to assist us or try to get out on their own. I can carry them and the biscuits out and then give them the biscuits if they just want to leave, which is totally fine. If they want to have some fun with us, then I'm all for that too.
Yeah, I know that Daisy would like to try to rescue her friends. If Dorothy and Alice are willing to eat biscuits and come with them, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Wazo would be trying to pantomime that 2 of their friends are about to lose their heads. And she kind of points to the garden or the market where they would have been. I guess just the castle, because she wouldn't know exactly where they are. But that's where she'd be pointing, trying to, because she does not feel right leaving Naya behind. As much as Naya said, like, run and run,
Right.
Wazo can't do it. She can't leave her. So at this point, I think Wazo is actually going to try and slip into her entertainer's uniform outfit and use her disguise kit to paint her face up so she looks like an entertainer.
Both Dorothy and Alice will, after eating the Issaka biscuits, who named this damn thing, and growing back to their normal size, they agree to come with you. They are hesitant because they have just escaped captivity, and they're worried that heading back into the middle of this mess is not going to end well, but they recognize the heroic deed that you are performing, and they feel compelled to try to return the favor, knowing that these two who are about to meet with death did so at the cost of trying to free the two of them. So, it sounds like then the plan is to try to go and help Pyria and Naya. Is that correct?
Yes.
Actually, before we go, I asked them, the Dorothy and Alice, by any chance, do you know anything? And I'm trying to find my notes. The king of the forest.
Baja.
Do they know, yeah, Baja. If they know anything about where he is.
They have not met him. They had heard that he was somewhere in his forest, but no, they have not met him.
I look at the juniper and I shrug and I let them know that I'm still going to be looking after this because he has a connection to the four queens of the forest. Well, yeah, I did say to them before they took the cookies if they wanted to be flown out and then given the cookies and then try to escape but I wasn't going to turn down their help, but I do know that it is important that they get out.
Okay, that kind of seems to be the general consensus. So, in that case, then they will take the offer to ride with Juniper to the outside of the palace grounds, somewhere in the the countryside, and they'll take the Iska biscuits there and grow back to their original size, and then start to very, very quickly escape to try to make their way back to the White Queen. So that means that the three of you remain in the royal gardens, and the plan is to then go help Naya and Pyria. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
See if we can rescue our friends.
I would still be getting into the entertainer's disguise.
I would be sitting on Henry, waving my weapon around.
And I will watch you guys do that. Deciding what I should do next.
So, while this trial by combat is about to begin, there is a crowd that has definitely started to gather. An execution that is not a beheading is certainly a rare occurrence here in the Kingdom of Hearts. So it is certainly drawing people's attention. And honestly, the three of you, if you wish to blend in with the crowd, it's not difficult to do. There are enough people here that it would be easy to become lost. But as you're making your way that direction, we're going to head back over to where Naya and Pyria are.
And we're still armed, correct? They haven't taken any precautions?
Not unless you have a weapon that is unsheathed, like a a long weapon or something like that.
I mean, it's sheathed, but I still have it, right?
Yes.
Right. And I did make a point to say that I received my weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Where are we in respects to where the queen is?
You are about 20 feet, give or take, away from her.
And how guarded is she?
She has 2 on either side of her.
Okay. It's not a problem. All right. Continue, sir. Sorry. Just need a little lay of the land.
Of course. So she has announced that it will be a trial by combat, that she has a new toy, that she is going to grace her people with this experience. She claps her hands. The 4 guards nearby step into formation. She rises from her chair. Servants come out and grab her chair and begin to remove it from the platform. And she says, "Enjoy!" And then she turns to the 2 of you.
As this is all happening, there's suddenly a loud noise from one of the stalls nearby, like something fell over. And when the queen looks, she will see tiny Alice and tiny Dorothy scrambling among the items in the stall and ducking behind it.
I believe there is a check against illusions. Is there?
There is. A creature can choose to use its action to make an investigation check.
Okay. And that is what kind of saving throw and what DC?
So it is not a saving throw. Unless they investigate it specifically, they just see the illusion. Interacting with it reveals it to be an illusion.
But investigating it also reveals it to be an illusion, I guess?
Yes, with a successful intelligence check.
Gotcha. Well, she rolled a 3, so I don't think that that's going to suffice. She looks that direction, and you can watch the color rise in her face as she attempts to maintain composure. And her eyes bulge, and she points her scepter in that direction. And she says, "Gods, get them! There will be a beheading after all. Off with their heads!"
Naya looks to Pyria, and she hears the voice in her head once more. Now.
Yep. And Pyria, as a bonus action, because I'm assuming we're going to go into combat, but I would like to cast Zephyr Strike, which is a concentration. If you don't know what it does, I can read it. It is, I can move like the wind until the spell ends. I do not, my movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. Once before the spell ends, I can give myself advantage on 1 attack roll. On my turn, it deals 1 extra D8 force damage on a hit, and when whether you hit or not, my walking speed is increased by 30 feet until the end of that turn. So she is going to move extraordinarily quick directly towards the queen, and I would like to attack her.
Okay, you may do so. However, the attack is not going to be at advantage, because the knights beside with their shields are going to be imposing disadvantage with the protection ability. So it will wash with your advantage.
That is fine. Are they like phalanxing kind of in front of her per se? Like, do they step in front of her and kind of put their shields together?
Well, I mean, that's what they'll do on their move, or on their turn rather. But they have the protection ability that allows them to basically stick their shield in front of someone who is being attacked and impose disadvantage on the attacker.
See, the really super unfortunate part about that is that I have shatter. Shatter, what is it called? Let me go back up to look at it. I have a shatter spike, and if I hit those shields, they're gonna break. So, but that's okay.
Yeah,
We'll
so
do
Jeremy,
that type of thing.
are we gonna mechanically get like a surprise round off since we're coordinating this?
Yes, that's what's happening right now.
Excellent. Will a
Awesome.
14 hit the queen with disadvantage?
Yes, even with disadvantage.
Wow.
Okay, so let's see. It's a million, like 22 to hit the queen.
That's with disadvantage?
Oh, yeah, let me do that.
I thought you had.
Oh, never mind. No, I'm sorry. It watched with your advantage. So
Yeah, I watched
it should
it.
just be a single roll.
But even if it was, I rolled the same number twice. Funny enough.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think that we both just attack, directly, and what was that? This is okay, so I can't do that. All right, so yeah, it's gonna be 2d8 plus 6 for me. And I am aiming directly for her head.
Naya, in concert with Pyria, unsheaths her blade and moves swiftly. You can almost see one of these shimmering ancestral guardian spirits just slightly move a shield aside, and the blade strikes twice at the queen, once for 11 and once for 9.
Yeah, and do I get extra attack on this as well still? This is an action, right?
You guys are getting a surprise round.
Okay.
What was the second swing on the attack, Naya, with a disadvantage?
The second one was a 17 on the die with disadvantage.
Good deal.
All right. And the second one would have been, all right, so 19 and 14, which is still just a million. For that plus 7. So I would hit again. And that would make, okay, so that's 15 plus 8, 25 damage from Pyro.
So the two of you step forward, easily bypassing the protective shields of the Crimson Phalanx, and waylay the queen, causing her grievous injury. The second strike from Pyria actually dislodges the head from the queen's neck entirely. It falls to the floor, the cover, the platform, rolls several feet away, still screaming, "Off with their heads! Off with their heads!" As it's kind of rolling away from her body. Her body is kind of flailing about. The 4 Phalanx soldiers surround her, and something strange happens. They slam their shields into the ground, one basically at each cardinal direction, and they crouch down behind these tower shields and pull the queen down behind them as well. And almost instantaneously, the 4 shields seem to come together, almost like in a small fortress, as they start to almost multiply. It looks like cards shuffling, like bridging, and they start to multiply and get larger and effectively form like a 10 by 10 area that is about 10 feet tall. And it looks like it's all made out of kind of the same material that their shields are made out of. All of them contained within the inside of it. Meanwhile, chaos is kind of breaking out in the crowd. Some people are cheering. Some are scattering and running. People are very confused as to what's going on and what might be the proper course of action. Several of the Crimson Phalanx look like they're going to start heading in your direction. However, one of the individuals steps forth from the crowd, and you realize it's not a person. It seems to be whatever toy that the Red Queen was talking about. This being looks to be composed mainly of metal and red thread, a spool of which you can see kind of seated in its abdomen, and it runs all throughout its body, connecting its various limbs and head, etc. It looks at the situation, though it doesn't seem to have eyes, but it looks directly at the two of you, reaches back and pulls one of these long sewing pins out of its back, and then hurls it at Naya. Naya, what is your armor class?
15.
15. This is going to hit. It deals 10 points of piercing damage as this thing embeds itself in your thigh. And it steps forward to close with you. Both of you, Naya and Pyria. If the two of you would please, actually everybody, go ahead and roll me initiatives. Pyria and Naya will basically be on their own for the first round after this surprise round. And then the rest of you will be able to join after. Holy crap.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Okay, I think I got everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Skipping to the first involved is Pyria. You're up first.
Wasn't.
I got a 28.
Yeah, but you're not in this.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like I said, the first round of combat will be just Pyria and Naya.
Oh, okay. No
Yeah.
problem.
All right. So, how far is that head rolled away from me?
Not that far, maybe 15 feet.
Okay. I am going to move again. I don't take opportunity attacks for the next 9 rounds. And I'm going to first attack the head. And then, but so you know what my intention is, then I'm going to go back and then I'm going to attack the wall with Shatter Spike, which is going to do a lot of damage to that. So what is also going to happen is she, as a bonus action at this point now, all right, I need a little bit of a clarification thing on this thing. Do you consider her head part of being her creature or part of her creature per se? Like, can you see what I'm saying? Can I dictate that the head is actually the queen?
Not really.
But you see what I'm saying with it, because I have planar
Yeah.
warrior, and as a bonus action, I can choose a creature I can see within 30 feet of me. The next time I hit that creature on this turn, all damage is dealt. It becomes force damage, and I get another D8. So, if you say that I can say that that's the queen.
So, because it was a part of her when you activated that ability, for that ability, yes, it'll still trigger the extra effects.
This is actually a separate ability. This is not the same as Zephyr Strike.
But because as of now, the head and her are separate, they're going to be treated like two separate
entities.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. So I am going to say that I cast that and put it onto the creature that is the head. And it is a bonus action. So she moves, and I would like to attack the head first.
Okay. Yeah, it is just laying there, staring up at you, screaming bloody murder. So you'll have advantage on the attack because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, 14 plus 7 is a lot. 22, 3, some of that.
It's close.
21.
But no, you hit.
Yeah, bad math skills. And that is going to be 28. Where'd that go? 5 plus 8 is 13 plus 6 is 19 damage onto the head. All force damage.
Yeah, you absolutely may describe what it looks like when you maim this severed head. Well, it's not really a severed head. Disconnected head.
Disconnected head. Yeah, she again moves so quickly that she just almost appears right in front of the head and slices in a downwards strike, slicing it in twain. I don't know if there is anything really inside of it or if it's just controlled by the body itself. But it would be a gruesome scene. And she is not unhappy about that. But then she turns back over her shoulder, winks again at Naya, and moves back towards that wall. And I would like to attack the wall. And with I do have the Shatter Spike sword, which is uncommon, which is dope. And I would like to try to hit that wall, which shouldn't be hard to do.
It is not in the least. Does it matter if the object that you are striking with your sword is magical? Does it get a saving throw?
Yeah. You have this magic weapon. If it hits the object, the hit is an automatic critical hit and can deal bludgeoning or smashing damage to the object of my, and that's my choice.
Okay.
So, cool. And further damage from the non-magical sources cannot harm the weapon. So I guess it could harm the weapon in theory.
Okay.
Because
go ahead and roll your damage up.
Oh, so I don't even have to roll the hit?
No, the wall is it's a wall.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Oh, that's a tiny number. That's only 5 so far. 10 and 7, 17 plus 6 is... That is that number I wanted to say before. 23 damage to the wall.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that is bludgeoning damage because I want to break through it.
So this massive strike comes from your weapon?
Yes, it comes from the weapon itself.
And hits this wall, and cards come pouring out of this wall, like playing cards. They fall almost like stones, but they shuffle out like cards that are being bridged. And there's now this rather large dent that is probably a foot, maybe 2 deep, and probably about 3 or 4 feet in diameter. and you can see basically kind of like layers of cards, as if like this dent had been made through a large deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that it's almost penetrated all the way through, but it looks like there are still a little ways to go. You can hear them shouting on the inside.
Okie dokie. Now, obviously, that voice isn't coming from the queen because I can't imagine she could talk with just her.
No, it is certainly not the queen's voice.
All right. And she would turn and look and say, "Do you see what you follow here? She's not even real." And turns back and turns her attention to the wall again of cards.
The Knight of Threads steps forward and is going to attack. He attacks 3 times with this blade. He will be attacking Pyria twice and Naya once.
Okay.
Pyria, what is your armor class?
17.
Okay. Okay, this one glances off of your armor, missing you. The second, however, hits. You're going to take 12 points of slashing damage, and I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
I like these new dice. My new Kraken dice are dope. Dexterity saving throw, that is 22.
Excellent. You managed to avoid the secondary effect that this incredibly sharp blade seems to have, though it does cut you deep enough to draw blood.
Mm-hmm.
Its third strike, as it kind of pivots a half turn around and brings the blade towards Naya, is also going to be a hit. With a 24. It's going to deal 9 points of slashing damage. And Naya, do you wear armor or shield at all?
She is not wearing armor, but she does have a shield. She doesn't have it up
Drawn
at the moment.
Okay.
It's slung across her back as she has her sword in both hands.
Excellent. So you will not need to make this saving throw. Okay. The Knight of Threads has lashed out at the 2 individuals it could see. Naya, it is now your turn.
Please attack that thing.
Naya is not to be deterred from her initial goal of the queen, even behind the... it's still a disadvantage. Is there any additional penalty at the moment behind those shields? Can I reach her?
No, currently you cannot, unless you can scale a 10-foot wall.
No. Okay. I will attack the shields then and see if I can break through. Is that a disadvantage or is that a straight roll?
No, you don't even have to roll to attack the wall itself. You just deal straight damage.
Yeah, she will, almost ignoring this knight held together by thread, she'll turn her back to him and strike out at this wall of cards, it seems. I apologize while I do math.
And what kind of a weapon are you making the attack with?
She has a long sword in both hands, bringing it down heavily onto it. The first attack is 7 damage.
Okay. You bring your sword down against this wall, and it cuts into the cards deeper than you might have expected. Again, these were shields just a moment ago. And though they still seem to be made almost out of the same metal, they seem almost thinner, though they are in many, many layers. Your sword cuts deeply into this part, as it actually takes 14 points instead of the 7.
Ooh. Do I cut through enough to be able to see the queen yet?
No, your blade cuts through, but it's a very, very narrow slit right now. Effectively, you basically have to make like another cut, creating like a V, and then you might be able to either push it out or maybe even a third cut to create like a triangle to actually make an opening.
Yeah, Naya attempts to, with her second strike, to cut into that V shape, and that one will be 9 damage.
Okay, which will do 18 instead, as it cuts even deeper than the first. There is definitely now this kind of V-shaped cut that seems to go most of the way through the wall, and it does go through the wall where the points meet. The soldiers inside are frantically shouting to prepare for defending the queen. Okay. That brings us to the top of a new round with the 3 of your friends able to join in the fray. So, Corbeau, it is your turn.
While we saw this happening, and I see the head fall off the queen, I turned to Wuzzo and Daisy. You guys went upstairs. Do you have any idea if that's her real head, or is there another one? Because I'm getting an idea that the head wasn't fully attached, so I'm asking if is there another one?
She had a whole. Oh, go ahead.
Was always be nodding.
Yes, Daisy would also nod and say she had a room full of heads.
But is that her real one, or is there another one that might be her real one? Do you know?
Wuzzo shrugs.
Yeah, there's no
like,
telling.
They're all hers now. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. I think we need to deal with her and not the head.
Okay, it's like I don't know why they're attacking the queen, but so do we have a line of sight to the queen, or she's covered in cards?
No, she is currently inside of a card mini fortress, if you will. It's basically a 10-foot cube of these card shields.
And how far is this Thread Knight from us?
He's within closing distance, so 30 feet.
Okay, what I'm going to do is walk up to him, and I call for the kiss of the Summer Queen. And I pull out my rapier, this silver blade that just shines almost like a mirror, and it just suddenly engulfs in this orangey red, bright orange flame. And 19 to hit.
That absolutely will hit. And
okay.
What kind of damage is your rapier? Is it piercing?
Piercing and fire.
Piercing and fire. Okay.
Does it matter? Do I have to separate it for you?
Please do. Yes.
Okay, so 11 piercing.
Okay.
And 5 fire.
You notice as you drive your rapier through that there's really not much substance to this individual. And the rapier itself doesn't seem to do very much damage as it passes through some of these holes that this thing is comprised of. The fire, on the other hand, certainly seems to have effect, as some of these threads kind of singe and sizzle and start to catch.
Now, is there an enemy within 5 feet of the Thread Knight?
No, an enemy of his or of yours?
Of mine.
No, not currently.
Okay, then that won't happen. And just trying to remember. Oh, and I will take bonus action to trying to remember now. I guess I could dodge, right?
Talking about cunning action?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, no, I can't. Actually, I will dash 30 feet away, and I do not take any attacks of opportunity from the Thread Knight.
Okay. That brings us to Oiseau.
Right. Wazo, at this point, has been playing on her dulcimer. And as this battle has started, she starts to hum. And as she's strumming this dulcimer, and her humming is getting louder and louder and a higher pitched, until then all of a sudden her mouth opens up as if she was screaming, and you don't hear any noise from her, but was it 10 feet behind the Thread Knight, such that so he's caught in it on this 10-foot sphere, but not Naya and Pyria and the wall in front of him. This sudden loud ringing noise, which is really intense, erupts right there. I'm casting Shatter. And if he's a creature made of inorganic material, stone, crystal, metal, get disadvantage on the saving throw, which is a con saving throw, DC 14.
Which he absolutely is. So that's he's going to fail.
Okay, so he's going to take the full damage, which is 18 thunder.
Pieces of his metallic body crumple as this enormous boom occurs. One of the heads on his javapins actually shatters, the kind of mother of pearl just breaking into dozens of pieces and falling to the ground. He kind of takes a half step forward, but seems otherwise unfazed.
Wazo's just going to take the rest of her movement action to kind of find some place to hide behind, so she's not as easily seen.
Okay, Pyria, it's your turn.
For it is, so now I can see inside there now. And I can see the queen's body.
No, currently you have this conical dent that your force damage has made almost all the way through.
Okay. Well, what about with the slit that Naya made?
Yes, if you go over to stand next to Naya, you should be able to. Basically, you'll have to kind of push the V-shaped flap open to look inside.
Yeah. So okay. So what I'd like to do first is I'm going to pivot to where Naya was, and with my first attack, I'm going to attack the wall again in that slit, so to hopefully make it larger.
Okay.
And then I will. Oh, man, I should grab one more die. Wasn't quite ready with dice. And then my second attack, I will, if I can see inside there, I will try to get at that. So, again, you're going to say I don't really have to hit it, right?
Yeah, you do not have to roll an attack roll.
All right, so it's another critical strike. 12 and 7, 19 damage.
19. And you said it is force damage, right?
That is force damage.
Okay. You can see
No,
that...
sorry. That's bludgeoning damage.
Bludgeoning.
Again.
Okay.
Mhm.
So again, you can see that it deals damage and it knocks most of the cards from this V cut kind of out. They crumble away. But you notice that it doesn't seem to have done as much damage as the sword cuts from Naya had done.
It's a magical weapon.
Yes, but it's bludgeoning.
But damage rolls I make with this are magic. It's still right. Because I have a +1 attack bonus to damage to attack and damage rolls that I make with this magic weapon. This is exactly how it's worded. If I hit an object, the hit is automatically critical hit and can deal bludgeoning damage or slashing damage to the object of my choice.
Yes, and you chose bludgeoning damage. And it has resistance against bludgeoning damage.
Oh, beautiful.
You notice
I should have
that.
slashed it. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Now I and she is just putting this together. Gotcha.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. So she can see inside there.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that you have damaged between the cuts, enough of it has fallen away that you can see inside. If you you have to kind of put your face up against the wall, but you can certainly see in.
Can I reach inside?
I mean, like you could reach
anything inside the wall at this point.
Probably not with your weapon. I mean, you might be able to get like your hand in, but you would basically just be able to touch the back sides of these shields.
Yeah. Okay. So I will attack the wall again because we need to get inside there to get done what we want to do. And I will deal damage again. This time it's gonna be slashing damage because she has realized that for some reason it's not working the same way that it did when Naya did. That is a lot. That is 18 plus 7. It's 25 damage slashing.
This cuts a massive gash in this wall. You bring your blade across, and it cuts like butter. And a portion of it, about the size of probably about the size of Oiseau, falls free and hits the ground and scatters like playing cards. Awesome. And there's now a massive hole through the wall.
All right. And I'm going to use a little bit more movement to actually. Did it go on an angular thing, or did I? Because I don't mind cutting it like just straight in twain. You know what I mean? But if you want to say that I kind of sliced across it, there would be a higher side to this, and I would like to move on that side.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe I get some cover from the pincushion behind me.
So you're moving into the fortress.
No, I want to move on the back side of the fortress from wherever the pincushion is.
Okay. Are you taking a disengage?
I still have that, and I don't have opportunity attacks.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so you peel away, putting the fortress between you and the Knight of Threads.
Yeah.
Whose turn it is now. So he is only faced with Naya at the moment. So there's going to be 3 attacks directed at her.
The Thread Knight, because I moved away. Sorry, never mind.
Mm-hmm. That's an 18 on the first one. The second is going to miss with a 12. The third is also going to miss with an 11. So that's 1 hit. Not currently wielding a shield or armor. That is going to be 12 slashing damage, however. This blade cuts deeply into the barbarian. That brings us to Naya's turn.
Naya is single-minded in her approach. Will it be disadvantaged to reach through that gap that Pyra created and strike out at the queen?
Yeah, to try to attack, unless you move through the gap first and then attack, it's going to be at disadvantage.
Okay, then I will move through the gap. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll take that opportunity attack.
All right. He is definitely going to take it. That's going to hit. Okay. A further 10 points of slashing damage as yet another gash appears from this half of a scissor that this thing is wielding. But, Naya, you have managed to duck through the opening in the shield wall. And you find these individuals. One of them is kneeling over the queen's body, while the other one is standing nearby with a bag of some kind, trying to get it open. The other two are still wielding their weapons and have turned to try to face you. And you notice the one who's kneeling on the ground over the queen's body is very, very carefully cutting into the crook of her elbow. He has her sleeve pulled up and is cutting into her skin right where the crease of her elbow is.
I think Naya takes this in a moment, but doesn't care enough to stop and worry about it. And you said I'm not at disadvantage at this point?
No. If you're attacking her body, you're going to be, well, you would be at advantage because she's prone. However, the other two knights still have that protective ability, so they don't have their shields currently, so they wouldn't be able to use it. So you have advantage.
Okay, excellent. Let me roll that advantage real quick. All right, that's going to be a 24 and
Definitely hits.
A 20, non-natural.
Both hit.
And as Naya almost hip checks one of these men to move them aside, and that's gonna come down on the queen with 12, 15, 18, 20, 22 damage total in the 2 strikes.
Her body is cut, bleeding from several different wounds. It's impossible to tell whether or not she's alive or dead. She's lying still. It certainly looks as though her body has sustained enough damage that it would have killed at least most people. Daisy, it's your turn.
Daisy's been watching all this go on, and it seems to her that the thing to do is to take care of this thread knight that the queen has been pretty well worked over. So she's going to like reach into her memory and her druid thoughts. At first she's going to holler, "Henry, come after me," and then she's going to shift into the brown bear again. You'll see this little forest gnome get bigger and bushier and browner, and just suddenly you have this giant brown bear there. And she's going to go after the thread knight.
Okay. And it is currently not engaged with anyone. So there won't be any kind of qualifying for flanking or anything like that. But you can certainly close with it and attack.
Okay. I did pre-roll my 2 attacks. And the first one, the bite attack, as she reaches in, is a dirty 20 to hit.
It's a hit.
And she did 12 damage. and that would be piercing damage. So I don't know if he's...
Yes, you notice that the piercing bite doesn't do quite as much as you might have expected.
Yeah, she's not too... It doesn't look like something that would respond to piercing. Then a second one is a 21. And with that one, with her claws, she's going to rip 9 slashing damage.
Slashing damage, okay. That seems to do more than you expected.
She was thinking, yeah, it might rip the threads.
Absolutely. And as you do so, you actually cut through 2 or 3 of these threads. Where did your claw hit him?
I think she's going to kind of like rip him open in the middle if she can.
The spool?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like if she can tear that out, that would be great.
You don't tear it out. It looks like it's probably seated on some kind of rod, kind of in his, almost like his spine. But you cut and sever several of these threads, especially kind of out in the front of this, where they're coming directly off of the spool. And the whole thing kind of grinds to like a standstill. Like he stops moving for a moment. He is paralyzed for the time being. However, those of you who are in a place where you can see the crowd, you notice 3 people in the crowd drop dead instantly. Corbeau, it is your turn.
I hold up the my cane that was hiding my rapier, and near where the head of the cane would be, there is a white stone. And from that stone, I pointed at this thread knight, and I cast the breath of the Autumn Queen, and this white frost flies out towards the thread knight. I need a Constitution saving throw of 16.
He got a 17 on the die.
Oh.
Because it's not a strength or dexterity, the paralyzed condition doesn't have an effect on it.
Okay. Well, then I will double move with a bonus action dash, and I run past it into the wall, past the wall of cards.
Okay, and you have, well, since you didn't make an attack on him, does mobile come into play? Or are you getting free from opportunity strikes from somewhere else? Because you're going to have to pass by him in order to get through the opening.
I thought it was paralyzed.
Oh, great point. Haha. So yes, he's not going to take an attack opportunity on you.
I was trying to give a bonus to the next person he attacked if he did come back.
Fair enough.
He did. But yeah, I just walked past him, and I just moved so quickly, running past him into the... has Juniper returned?
Roll me a d20.
15.
He returns at the end of this round.
Okay. Is it totally, like, was this a dome of cards?
No, it's open in the top.
Okay, I don't need dark vision. All right, that's good, because I don't have it right now. Okay, that's it. I dive into the wall of past the wall of cards, and that's it.
Okay. You likewise duck into the opening where you see Naya just wailing on the queen's body, lying still on the ground. And you see the same scene that I described to her just a moment ago. Oiseau.
Wazo from where she's at, she's going to she's going to repeat that the humming and then that silent scream and cast Shatter once more on the Thread Knight. I'm not sure where the bear is right now, but she's going to try to position the sphere as such that it doesn't hit the bear, but would maybe hit the knight and some of that shield wall that's going on.
Absolutely.
So it's a con saving throw, and the knight's at disadvantage. And it's full damage if they fail is 13 points of thunder damage.
Okay, so he got a 16 and a 19 on his disadvantage roll.
So
what was
would,
the DC?
DC was 14.
Okay, yeah, so he passed this time.
Okay, so then he would take half damage.
Okay. And what was the damage?
13 thunder.
13. Okay. More of his metal body crumples underneath the effect of this spell. But he's still, even though he's not moving, is still standing.
And it would affect any of the creatures if those shield those card walls, if there's actually like people in them and not just cards, then they'd get affected too.
Even if it's beyond a barrier?
Well, it says any creature within that 10-foot sphere, and then if it's a non-magical item that's not being worn or carried, it'll also take damage. So if those are magical, then they're fine.
The shields won't take any because they're magical.
Okay, perfect.
But you can watch the effects of this spell kind of roll across the surface of these shield cards, and tears at the edges of the cuts that were made by your compatriots. And Pyria, we're back to you.
All right, so again, intent on the job in which she was told to do, to kill the queen, she comes around the front of the shield wall, but sees that there's two of her compatriots in there, and knowing that Naya can't hear her, and she can't hear me right now because she's not in the chat, but she would turn her attention to the construct in front of us. And it's paralyzed, so I have advantage against that, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to take 2 attacks against that. I am going to, on my first attack, use that ability that gives me the extra damage. Let me make sure I say it right. Do what I tell you, computer. There you go. All right. So I can see him. So the next time I hit that creature with a weapon attack, all damages becomes force damage, and the creature takes an extra 1d8 force damage from the attack. So. Nope, that's a deuce. But that's not a deuce. That's a 13. 13, 7, 20. 13, 7 is dirty 20.
Yes, that is absolutely enough to hit.
All right, and it's going to be 2 of these guys. Oh, that's not so great. 7 and 7 is 14 force damage.
Yeah, you watch as this kind of invisible force moves out from your weapon, or kind of sheathes the blade, as it were, and cuts, and shears through some of the metal that forms this creature's body.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as a second attack, this will be just with the sword itself. And that is a natural 20.
That'll hit for sure.
Yeah. So 27. And how do you do your criticals again?
You do max damage plus a roll.
Okay, max damage plus a roll. So max damage is 15. plus a roll. Oh, that's nice. That's 7. 7. Okay, so 15 and 14. My brain can't do math right now. It's been too long of a day.
So 29 points.
Yeah, 29 points of damage.
Okay.
And he aims directly for the midsection of this creature.
And what kind of damage is that?
It's a long sword set slashing.
Slashing. Okay, so 29 damage. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah. What does it look like as you finish this creature off?
So she very cockingly walks around the house of cards, because that's what we call it. Looks inside and sees that there is Naya and Corbin inside there, or Corbo inside of it, and sees the lifeless body of the queen with more blood than anybody should hold inside themselves, and turns her attention to the creature that has damaged her. And with her first attack, she does call upon her planar ability, and as you said, her sword sheathes in a beautiful black, shimmery force force that she just wails into the chest of this creature, and denting and almost like a tin can breaking open the outside of it. And with her second attack, she just smiles to the crowd, and before saying, says, "You see, her toy, it's going to fall apart, and I believe your queen is dead." And she swings beautifully right into the midsection of this creature, and it falls in half, with the front of it falling to the side of her next to the house of cards, and to the second part falling away from where Daisy is, but in towards the crowd. And then she just kind of does a curtsy and bows to the crowd.
The thread in the center of this thing was the only part of it that was still moving, and it was spinning. And as it was doing so, the threads from the spool were starting to kind of snake their way back through this thing's body, trying to reconnect it to its limbs and such. Your strike devastates this, slicing the Knight of Threads in half and it falling to the ground. And as you turn to curtsy to the crowd, you watch as no less than 3 or 4 dozen people drop dead in an instant from within the crowd.
Well, that's a little unsettling. But she does kind of, with our sword out to the side, and she stands up from the curtsy and sheathes her weapon and walks over to where the other two are and enjoys the scene of the queen being riddled.
As you surround this house of cards, tearing it down, slaying these members of the Crimson Phalanx that still try to guard their queen desperately, and make sure that the queen's body is beyond repair, there's a rumbling that shakes throughout the entirety of the area as Crimson Phalanx are pouring from everywhere within the city to try to surround this market square. You realize that that's not what's causing this shaking. The shaking is almost like an earthquake as buildings themselves are starting to tremble. Things are falling off of shelves, and stuff on the ground is starting to move along the ground as it's being shaken. There's a thunderous tearing noise as off to the side, a corner of a building just completely collapses down to the ground as something pushes up out of the ground, destroying the cobblestoned ground and throwing dirt and rock and dust everywhere. As you see this large conical drill looking device kind of, and this thing comes up and out of the ground and lands, and all of a sudden dozens of Nelldink come pouring out of the ground, shouting words like revolution and resistance. They begin crowding everywhere they can, holding their hammers and their wrenches as weapons, wearing nothing more than their leather aprons for armor. They close with the Crimson Phalanx and begin a fight that will have to wait for another time. So, everybody, that's what I had prepared. We're going to go ahead and stop our tale at this point. I'm going to pass it to my players so that they can do their outros, and then we're going to call it a night. So, first up, because I know she's got shit she needs to do, Taylor.
Jeremy, thanks for the game. I really enjoy the setting. I think it's a cool twist on fairy tales, and I like the way you kind of mash things together and just color it with a really dark shade of gray, and it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Taylor. Thank you for playing. And if you need to go, I understand, and thank you. You are free to go. Next up, we have Paul.
Wow, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad you decided to actually complete that one shot that became a two shot. You inspire me to try a little harder and dig a little deeper. I think in everything. This is the first time, second 1.5 times we've played together. I've enjoyed listening to all your settings and all your games, but this was amazing. Thank you for picking me to play in this game, and thank you for everyone who's playing. It was just a great session. I love all the characters and everything. So thank you again.
Of course. And thank you, Paul. That means a lot to me to hear, man. I appreciate that greatly. Next up, we have Karen.
I have been waiting to play in Dowrenland so long. This was amazing. I am so happy. This is great. It's always a pleasure to play with you, and I enjoyed very much all my fellow players, and this was amazing. So I think Wazo has touched a little part of my soul. So I think she's going to stay on my shelf for a little bit. So thank you.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure. It's a setting that I am very, very proud of with how it came together, and it did so a lot easier than I thought it would. It kind of told itself in a lot of ways once I started reading a lot of the notes and things that I had based it on. So I'm glad to have the chance to kind of show it off and have people experience it and play through it and bring their own kind of takes to things. And Wazo was certainly exception. That's the word I was looking for. No exception. So thank you. Next up, we have Corey.
Yeah, I just need to continue the love fest here. Brother, I met you in real life. I've hugged you around your neck. You are a fantastic friend. You're a fantastic GM. Everything that has come to you and the rebuilding that you've had in your life, man, is fantastic. I didn't know how dope a melee ranger could be, because I just thought melee characters were just like barbarians and fighters and so on and so forth. Because I've only ever played a rangers as a ranged character. I love this character. Now, unfortunately, you let us have some magic items, so on and so forth. That made a little bit slanted on our side, but that's okay. and I got some really dope new dice from Kraken. They're the fairy dust dice, and they're dope, and they rolled phenomenal today. And thank you so much for a beautiful setting. I might want some setting notes because I may run in this, brother, because it's like the most beautiful parts of my childhood turned into the adult angst that I have. You know what I mean? It's like great. You know what I mean? So maybe one day you'll get to play on the other side of the screen in your setting. That would be fun. So thank you. And if you ever want to run more of this, don't forget about Pyra because she's pretty fun.
Excellent, man. I'm glad you had a good time. And it's funny that you should talk about fairy powder because that's actually what they were attempting to put in the Queen's bloodstream. But we'll get back to that at a different point, I guess. Last but certainly not least, Carol.
Hey, I'm last. Yay. No, I don't really care. Yeah, this is really a whole lot of fun. I've run some Twisted Fairy Tales, but I haven't gone into the Oz part of it, which now that you've introduced me to the possibility of going into Oz, I may steal some ideas from you if that's all right. Because that's one of the fun things I like to run for my family is some kind of crazy fairy tale things, usually on the more humorous side, but I don't mind some darkness either. So I think this was really a fun setting. And thanks for letting me play a crazy gnome on a blink dog. I don't think it ended up being overpowered. No, I think it was fine. And I really enjoyed the range of characters that everyone brought to this. Were all so different, so unique. They're, just really, really interesting to play with them and to see how they role-played their characters. And that's really a lot of fun. But thanks for letting us finish this up. I appreciate that.
Of course, absolutely. I'm glad that you guys wanted to. I had the fight at the end there planned for the first session, and we didn't get to it, and it very much made me sad because the Night of Threads was something I was very excited to kind of show you guys. So I'm glad that I got the chance.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been finished really without that final hour and a half or whatever.
So I'm very thankful that you guys were not only willing, but were wanting to do this. So, Dowrenland, like I said, is a lot of fun. I think there are 3 other sessions of it here on the channel that you are able to watch if you'd like. And there certainly will be more of it at some point down the road, the Yellow Brick Road. So without any further ado, thank you very much for those of you who may have tuned in and watched this evening, or for those of you who may be watching in the future. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.